Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Of Dice and Third Baseman. Once again today we'll be strapping ourselves into the World Series time machine. This time we're headed back to 1966 and Dodger Stadium for the first game of the 1966 World Series between the Baltimore Orioles of the American League and the Los Angeles Dodgers of the National League. The Orioles won 97 games in 1966, managed by Hank Bauer. They won the American League by 9 games ahead of the Twins and the Tigers. They got into first place in mid-June and never trailed again. They had a pair of 7-game win streaks in July that took their lead from 2.5 games to 12.5 games and were never challenged thereafter. It was the first pennant for the franchise in over 20 years since the St. Louis Browns had won during the war in 1944. The Orioles had finished third the previous 2 years as the core of their great team started to come together, Boog and Brooks and Blair and McNally. But Davey Johnson and Jim Palmer arrived as full-time contributors in 1966, and of course Frank Robinson arrived in a famous trade with Cincinnati in December of 1965, and he did nothing really but win the Triple Crown in his first year in the American League. The '66 Orioles had far and away the best offense in the league, leading in average, on-base, and slugging percentage. Powell, Kurt Blefary, Russ Snyder, and the two Robbies were all at least 20% better than league average. The pitching was decent but thin. McNally was very good. The 20-year-old Palmer showed flashes of what was to come in a few years, and they had a fairly deep bullpen that led the league in saves. The Dodgers won 95 games under the leadership of Walter Alston. They narrowly won the National League by 1.5 games over San Francisco. They came from as far back as 6.5 games in early July to finally get their nose in front in mid-September, and then they went 14-8 over the final 3 weeks of the season to hang on for the pennant. The Dodgers were on exactly the opposite end of their championship window from these Orioles. This was the last Dodger pennant for 8 years, as the well finally ran dry on a 20-year dynasty that had brought 10 pennants to Brooklyn and Los Angeles. Roseboro, Wills, and Drysdale were rapidly declining. This was Koufax's last and perhaps his greatest season, and for the first time in a generation, the talent just wasn't waiting to take their places. A league average offense was led by Ron Fairley and Jim Lefevre, but LA depended almost completely on its pitching, getting almost 1,200 quality innings from just 5 arms. Koufax was unhittable, of course, but the other 3 men in the rotation were all league average or better, and each made at least 35 starts, while Phil Reagan was a 100-inning-plus fireman who won 14 games and saved 21 more. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of October, 1966, and Dodger Stadium is just about ready for the first pitch. Let's head out to the ballpark and meet the starting lineups. The Orioles will line up this way. Luis Aparicio will lead off and play short. Russ Snyder in center. Frank Robinson in right. Brooks Robinson at third and batting cleanup, followed by Boog Powell at first and Kurt Blefary in left. Then Davey Johnson at second, Andy Etchebarren behind the plate, and Dave McNally, the 23-year-old left-hander, on the mound for Baltimore. The Dodgers will send out Maury Wills at shortstop in the leadoff spot. Willie Davis will play center and bat second. Lou Johnson in right. Tommy Davis in left at cleanup. Jim Lefevre at second. Wes Parker at first. Jim Killiam at third. Johnny Roseboro behind the plate. And Don Drysdale, now 29 years old, the big right-hander, will take the ball for the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 of the World Series. Now that we've introduced the lineups, the anthems are complete, let's head down to the field for Game 1 of the 1966 World Series. And stepping in to lead it off for the Orioles in the top of the first will be the shortstop, Luis Aparicio. 254 against a righty. That's a bouncer back to the mound. No problem for Drysdale, and there's one away. Russ Snyder will step in. Center fielder today. 402. And he'll coax a walk out of Drysdale. That brings up the Triple Crown winner, Frank Robinson. 228 against a right-handed batter. Frank will hit that on the ground to third. Gillingham over to first. 2 down, and Snyder moves to second for Brooks Robinson. 386 to Brooks, and that's whacked into left field for a base hit. Snyder will round third, come home, and just like that, the Orioles are on the board in the first. Brings up the first baseman, Boog Powell. 267 against a lefty. That's a 547. That'll be hit at Jim Lefevre. And he'll go far to his left to make a beautiful grab and throw to first to retire the side. So an excellent play by Lefevre. Puts the Orioles down in the first, but they get a run on a hit and leave a man. And we'll go to the bottom of the first. Baltimore 1, Dodgers coming up. And they'll send up 33-year-old Maury Wills to bat leadoff. Still could run a bit, but not quite the threat he was a few years ago. McNally delivers. That's a 135, which is a 335. And Wills will bounce that back to the box. McNally will toss to Powell for the first out. So they keep Wills off the bases, and Willie Davis will step in. 185, and he's going to bloop that over the head of the second baseman and into shallow center for a base hit. So Davis is on for 1 out, and Lou Johnson will come up. 277. It's to righty, and that's hit well to left. Johnson is a 7 power, and 5 more is 12. And that ball will hang up in left field, and Kurt Blefary will get there and put it away for the out. So 2 down for Los Angeles, and Tommy Davis will step in. .466 against a lefty, and that's spanked into right field for a base hit by Davis. And Willie Davis will hold at second, 2 outs. And the Dodgers have a little something going here. Runners at first and second, 2 outs, and Jim Lefevre at the plate. 623 at home, that's a 633, and that'll be popped up in the infield, or it'll be handled easily by the Orioles shortstop, Luis Aparicio. That's the 3rd out, and the Dodgers get no runs on 2 hits, and they leave them both. And we're through an inning, and the Orioles have a 1-0 lead. Kurt Blefary will start off the second inning for Baltimore. 665. That's a bouncer short. Shouldn't be any trouble for Wills. He throws to first. 1 down. And Davy Johnson steps in. 689 for Davy. And that's a base hit into left field. The 23-year-old second baseman. And that'll bring up Andy Etchebarren. It's a 107. It's a 307. And Andy watches called strike 3. First strikeout for Drysdale. 2 outs, man at first, and McNally steps in. 568. That'll be hit to Wills at shortstop. And he won't be able to make the play. Can't get it out of his glove. That's an error on the Dodgers shortstop. McNally reaches first. And Davy Johnson moves up to second. So now the Orioles have 2 on and 2 outs. As they go to the top of the order, and Aparicio, who bounced back to the mound in the first. 327. That's a little dribbler up the third baseline, and there's not going to be a play. It's an infield hit for Aparicio that'll load the bases for the Orioles with 2 men away and Russ Snyder coming up. It's a key moment early in the game here. Drysdale scans the field. There's an Oriole at every bag. He looks in at Snyder and makes the pitch. That's a 205 against a left-hander. That is ball 4. Snyder walks for the second time, but this time he forces home a run. And the Orioles take the lead 2-0. So Drysdale, a fine control pitcher with only 45 walks in 270 innings, but for whatever reason, he can't find the strike zone against Snyder. So the Orioles still have the bases loaded, 2 outs, and unfortunately for Drysdale, he now has to deal with Frank Robinson. It's a 271 against a righty. That's a 551. That's hit hard on the ground to Gilliam. He will scoop it up and throw to second for the force that retires the side. But the Orioles get another run on 2 hits. And they leave 3 men on. That run will be unearned. But regardless, the Dodgers will come up in the second, now trailing by 2 runs. And Parker will start it off against the left-handed deliveries of Dave McNally. That's a 650. At home, that's a 660. That's hit on the ground to third. Brooks up with it and over to first. 1 away. And Gilliam will stand in. An injury-plagued season for the 37-year-old. He only came up 250 times, batted .217. 139, that's a 339. That's hit on a line, but right at Brooks at third. Snags it, and there's 2 away. And Johnny Roseborough will step in. 171. And the Dodger catchers whacks a base hit up the middle. And the Dodgers have a base runner in front of Drysdale, who could swing the bat a bit. McNally will have to pay him some respect. 535. That's hit on the ground to Powell. He will glove it and trot to the bag and handle it himself for the 3rd out. Dodgers get nothing on a hit and leave a man. And we're through 2 in Los Angeles with the score Baltimore 2 and the Dodgers nothing. And Brooks, who handled 2 chances in the past half inning, will lead it off for the Orioles. 394, and Brooks starts the inning off with his 2nd hit of the game. Singled and drove in a run in the first, and he singles here to lead off the 3rd. Brings up Powell, who was robbed on a fantastic play by Dodgers second baseman Jim LaFay in the first. Pitch to Boog, 6-25. And that's skied on the infield. LaFay will take care of Powell again, much more routinely this time. One down, and that brings up Kurt Blefary. 6-64 for Blefary. That's hit on the ground to third. Gilliam has one play, and that'll be to second. Brooks is forced, and Blefary takes his place at first. And there's two down, and a runner on first for Davy Johnson. Davy singled and scored the Orioles' second run in the second inning. Drysdale kicks and deals. 5-22. That's a call, strike three. Roseboro frames it beautifully on the inside corner. Johnson is retired. Second strikeout of the game for Drysdale. And the Orioles get no run on a hit, and they leave one. We go to the bottom of the third, and the Dodgers at the top of the order for Maury Wills. 239 against a switch hitter. That's bounced on the ground to second. Davy Johnson over to Boog Powell and one away. Willie Davis, 589. That'll be hit out to Snyder in center field. And that'll drop in for a base hit. So Willie's 2 for 2. He also singled in the first. And Lou Johnson will stand in. He flied to left in the first. 3-15. That's a swing and a miss. McNally pushes it past the swing of Johnson. His first strikeout. There's two down, and Willie Davis still at first. And Tommy Davis will get a chance for the Dodgers. 187, and that's going to be blooped into shallow right for a base hit. Willie Davis will scamper around second and go all the way to third. And the Dodgers are in business with runners at the corners, but two outs. And LaFavre coming up. Jim popped out to Aparicio at short to end the first. 5:59. That's hit at Brooks Robinson. And that's going to be out of his reach and into left field for a base hit. So Willie Davis will score the first Dodger run. Tommy Davis will pull up at second. And Parker will come to the plate with runners at first and second and two away. 257 against a switch hitter. And that's a swing and a miss. So clutch pitch there by McNally. He fans Parker for the final out of the inning. The Dodgers get a run on 3 hits. But they leave 2 more men on. They've left 5 men on base through 3 innings. As a result, they still trail. It's 2-1 Orioles through 3 innings here at Dodger Stadium. And that'll bring Andy Etchebarren to the dish to lead off the 4th for Baltimore. Etchebarren took a called third strike from Drysdale in the second. 497. Just a righty. That's hit well to center field, but it'll stay in the ballpark. Willie Davis is a few steps in front of the warning track, and he makes the grab for the first out. McNally reached on an error by Maury Wills, his first time up. He's a contact 3. That's at 376. And he will also hit that center field, but shallow this time. But again, no problem for the Dodger center fielder, Willie Davis. And they're 2 away. And that'll bring up Aparicio, who's grounded to the pitcher and singled so far today. 6-0-3. And that's hit hard, but right at the second baseman. And Lefevre will make the play over to first. And the Orioles go down in order in the 4th. And they're still clinging to a 2-1 lead as we head to the bottom of the inning. And Jim Gilliam, 4-27 against a lefty. Strike 3. Third strikeout for McNally. And his third in the last 5 batters. Roseboro stands in. He's 1 for 1 with a base hit. 5-24. And that'll be ball 4. Etchebarren can't pull it into the strike zone. Roseboro draws a walk. That'll bring up Drysdale, the man at first, and 1 out. Doesn't look like he'll get the bunt sign. Don stands in to swing away. That's a 597. That's hit pretty well out to right. Frank Robinson will not get that. It gets past him and gets to the wall for a 2-base hit. Roseboro will come all the way around to score. Tie the game. Drysdale does his own cause significant good with an RBI double. That makes the score 2-2. Never hurts when you can swing the bat as a pitcher. That'll bring up Wills. 5-29. And that one's going to get past Etchebarren and roll to the backstop for a pass ball. Drysdale will move up to third. Here's the tying run. The Orioles will bring the infield in with 1 out. Drysdale does not run well. He will not go on contact. Pitch to Wills. 4-25 against a lefty. And Maury gets under that and drives it to right field. Robinson the catch. Drysdale coming home. And he beats the throw. So a sacrifice fly for Wills. Gives the Dodgers their 3rd run and the lead. It's 3-2 Los Angeles. Now the bases are empty and 2 outs, and Willie Davis will stand in. 484 against a lefty. Strike 3 to Davis. 4th strikeout for McNally. But the Dodgers get 2 runs with the benefit of only 1 hit. Walk and a pass ball. Really hurt the Orioles there. In fact, one of those runs will be unearned. But it still goes on the scoreboard, and we head to the 5th. Los Angeles has its first lead of the game at 3-2. And Snyder will face Drysdale. 372. That's hit on the ground to first. No problem for Parker. He'll take it to the bag himself, and there's 1 away. That'll bring up Frank Robinson, who's 0 for 2. He's hit the ball on the ground to third twice. 537. He goes the other way this time and hits it at Parker at first base. And that'll be out of his reach and into right field for a base hit. Now Frank gets his first hit of the game. The Orioles have a man at first and 1 away for Brooks Robinson. Brooks has singled twice and knocked in a run. 213 against a right-handed batter. And that's whacked to second. Lefevre has it. He'll flip to short for one. On to first. Double play that ends the inning. Score that one 4-6-3. The Orioles get no runs on a hit. And they leave nobody. Drysdale shuts them down after the Dodgers take the lead. And we go to the bottom of the fifth. Score still 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. Johnson will lead it off. 492 against a lefty. Swung on and missed. His second strikeout, McNally's fifth. And Davis of the Tommy variety will stand in. 694 at home. That's a 704. That's hit well to center field. Davis's power 3. And 15 more is 18. And that's deep, but not quite deep enough. Snyder goes back, leans against the wall, and makes the grab. Tommy gave it a ride, but not good enough at Dodger Stadium. And that'll bring up Lefevre with 2 on and nobody out. He is 1 for 2 with a run batted in. 431 against a lefty, and that's going to be popped up to third base. Brooks drifting into foul ground, where he makes the grab that retires the side, and there's nothing doing for the Dodgers in the fifth. No runs, no hits, nobody left. We're through 5. It's 3-2 Dodgers, and McNally will be vulnerable to fatigue in the 6th. Drysdale comes out and toes the rubber, and he looks in at Boog Powell, who has been retired twice by Jim Lefevre at second. Boog will try to hit the ball somewhere else here in the 6th. 445 against a righty, and he does. He lines it into center field for a base hit. First hit of the game for Boog, and the Orioles have the leadoff man on for Kurt Blefary. Drysdale's pitch is a 628, and that's skied on the infield. Lefevre moves over behind the bag at second and puts away the pop for the first out. Powell can do nothing but stand at first and watch, and that'll bring up Davy Johnson. 204 against a righty, and that is a swing and a miss. Third strikeout of the game for Drysdale, 2 of which have come at the expense of the Orioles second baseman. And Etchebarren will stand in with 2 outs and a runner on first. 514, and that's hit on a hop, back to the box. Drysdale has it, and he'll throw to first baseman, and Parker makes the catch to retire the side. No runs for the Orioles in the 6th on 1 hit and a man left. And Drysdale is now vulnerable to fatigue. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. Wes Parker. 383 for the Dodger first baseman. And he's going to pop that one to Brooks Robinson. And again, 2 Dodger batters in a row. Brooks will put that away in foul ground for the out. 1 down to Gilliam, who's lined to Brooks Robinson and struck out swinging. 361. And again, that's popped up to third. Brooks is right on the line, takes 1 step into foul ground and makes the catch. 3 straight foul pops to Robinson by the Dodgers. And now Roseboro, 2 outs and nobody on. 366. And Roseboro also hits it in the same direction, but he got a little more on it. That'll get over Brooks's head and out to left field, but it's a routine play for Blefary, who puts it away for the third out. And the Dodgers go 1, 2, 3 in the sixth. And we're 2/3 of the way through here at Dodger Stadium, with Los Angeles holding a 3-2 lead. And McNally due up to lead it off in the seventh. He will hit. That's a 680. And that is a ball hit back to the mound. No problem for Drysdale. He flips to first for the out. And back to the top of the menu for Luis Aparicio, who is 1 for 3 with a single in the second inning. .534. That'll be hit on the ground to Wes Parker. He gets it on the second hop, runs to first and steps on the bag, and there's 2 Orioles away. Nobody on in the seventh, and Russ Snyder will stand in. He has walked twice, scored, knocked in a run, and grounded out to first. .588. He hits that one pretty well to center field. Willie Davis on the run, and he will not make the catch. It drops in for a base hit for Snyder, and the Orioles have a base runner. Snyder not a threat to do anything at first, and that'll give Frank Robinson the chance to do some damage. Drysdale looks in at the Triple Crown winner, and he delivers. That's a 615, plus fatigue is 625, and that's a pop-up on the infield, and it'll be no trouble for Jim Lefevre. He puts it away for the third out, and the Orioles get nothing on a hit. Leave another man on base. And it's time for the seventh inning stretch. The Dodgers lead by a score of 3-2. And Drysdale will lead it off for the home team in the bottom of the seventh. He grounded to first, and he hit an RBI double and scored in the fourth. .579. That's hit out to Blefary in left. And that'll fall in for a base hit. Second hit of the game for the Dodger pitcher. That'll bring up Maury Wills with a man at first and nobody out in the seventh. The auto manager would not call for a bunt here, because his bunt rate in this situation with a runner first and nobody out, your bunt rating has to be at least 1 higher than the sum of your power and contact, which is not here. But I'm going to override and I'm going to drop it down here. So Maury's a bunt of 6. You add 10 more, that's 16. And that's bunted to the first baseman. He has a chance at a fielder's choice. So Drysdale's a speed of 0, and the first baseman, Powell, has an arm of 2. So Powell will need to roll an 8 or higher to get the force at second. He will try to make the play on the lead runner. Does much better than 8. We'll check his fielding rating and see if there's an overthrow. We got a 6 and an 8 on the 10-sided die. His fielding rating is an 8, so there's no error. So Wills lays it down, but he bunts it too hard. And Boog fields it and throws to Aparicio to force Drysdale at second. So now Wills is at first with 1 out. Okay. The auto manager will not let him run. He doesn't qualify based on his speed rating, so he'll be held at first by McNally. And Willie Davis will step in with a runner at first and 1 out. .148, and he bounces it to Powell at first. McNally scampers over and he'll cover to get the out at first. So that's 2 outs, and Wills will move on to second. That brings up Lou Johnson, who was struck out twice and flied to left. 200 against a lefty. That's a 400, and he will draw a walk, which didn't happen very often with Lou Johnson. But it's a ball 4 regardless, and now the Dodgers have 2 men on and 2 outs. Tommy Davis coming to the plate. Some glances cast at the Baltimore bullpen. McNally's going to stay in and pitch to Tommy Davis. 207. That's a 407 against a lefty. And that's hit sharply on the ground to Aparicio. He'll flip to second for the force that retires the side. The Dodgers get no runs on a hit, but they leave two more. And we're through 7 at Dodger Stadium with the score. Still Dodgers 3 and Orioles 2. The Orioles will lead off with Brooks Robinson. They'll have Robinson, Powell, and Blefary in the 8th, and the bottom order in the 9th. Drysdale looks in at the Oriole third baseman, and he kicks and deals. And at 164, that's ball 4. So Brooks works the walk to lead off the 8th. And the visitors have the tying run aboard, and Boog Powell comes to the plate. Boog is grounded to second, popped to second, and singled. 551. That's hit hard on the ground to Jim Gilliam. He will flip to second for 1, on to first, double play. And for the second time, the Orioles have grounded into a double play. Brooks doing it in the 4th, and Boog here in the 8th. And the bases are suddenly empty with 2 out, and Kurt Blefary comes to the plate. Drysdale does have to be careful. He's a threat to tie the ball game with 1 swing. 23 home runs. 157. He doesn't hit it quite that hard, but he does hit it hard enough to get it into center field for a base hit. Two outs, Blefary at first, Davy Johnson at the plate, And Drysdale looks in for the sign, and he pitches. That's a 382. Johnson also hits it well to third base. Gilliam up with it, and he'll flip it to second for the force that retires the side. And the Orioles get no runs on a hit, and they leave one in the eighth. Down 3-2. And the Dodgers will come up in the bottom of the inning looking for some insurance, and they'll send up Jim Lefevre, who's 1 for 3 with an RBI base hit. 607 at home is 617, and fatigue is 637. That is popped up in the air, shortstop. Aparicio a couple steps to his right to make the grab. One away for Los Angeles. And Wes Parker, who's 0 for 3 with a strikeout, stands in. 5:25 to Echeverren. That'll be ball 4. Switch hitter and a lefty coming up. And the pitcher spot coming up second in the 9th. We're going to leave McNally in to pitch to Gilliam and see how that goes. 5:37, that's hit to Powell. And passed him into right field for a base hit. Parker is a speed 4. Frank Robinson in right is an arm 2. So Parker's going to attempt to go to third. He needs an 8 or better to beat the throw. 14, and he does. That's a base hit for Gilliam. And Parker goes to third. The Dodgers have first and third and 2 men away. And Roseboro at the plate. And I think that'll be it for Dave McNally. Let's see. As I said before, the Orioles had quite an effective bullpen in 1966. Although most of their top options were right-handers. They actually only have one lefty in the bullpen, Frank Bertana, who really was a swing man. But he's very tough on lefties. So we will bring him on at the bottom of the 8th to face Roseboro. That's 7 1/3 for McNally. Faced 34 batters. His first and third, 1 out. The Orioles will bring the infield in. Parker's a speed 4 at third. He will be going on contact with the pitcher's spot coming up. And the pitch to Roseboro. 484 against a lefty. And Roseboro gives that a ride to center field. That'll be plenty deep enough to score the run. Snyder makes the catch. Parker trots home with the 4th Dodger run. And that'll bring up Drysdale with Gilliam at first and 2 away. Drysdale's 2 for 3 with a double, an RBI, and a run scored. 168. And he will draw a walk. Quite a day both at the plate and on the mound for Don Drysdale today. And that puts 2 men on with 2 outs. It'll bring up Wills, who was a lesser hitter against lefties, so Frank Bottano will stay in. He looks in at Wills. Pitch, and that is poked out to Blefary and left. He will make the grab to retire the side. But the Dodgers get an important run on 1 hit and 2 walks. And they leave another 2 men on base. But they do now have a 2-run lead as we head to the top of the 9th. And the bottom 2 spots in the Orioles order due up. And I suspect they'll go to the bench here. Looks like Echebarren will not hit. Not a terribly deep bench for the Orioles. So the starters pretty much played almost all the time. Boy, there's really not much here, especially for left-handed bats. And none of the guys that are available really wanted to take a walk. All right, Paul Blair will hit for Echebarren. Start the 9th. The Dodgers definitely have action in the bullpen. Blair will stand in. 155. And Blair pops it up down the left field line. And Gilliam will make the grab in foul territory for the first out of the 9th. So Blair can't get on base. And now the pitcher's spot. And the Orioles will send up the left-handed batting Vic Rosnowski. And he digs in against Drysdale on the pitch. It's a 169. No wild pitch here. 321. That's skied to center. That's a can of corn for Willie Davis. He will put her in his pocket. And the Orioles are down to their last out here in Game 1 as they roll over to the top of the order, and Luis Aparicio will stand in. 1 for 4 on the day. Drysdale looks to finish it off himself here as he glares back into the Dodger dugout. And he kicks and deals to Aparicio. 143. That's a 343. And that's bounced on the ground to shortstop. Maury Wills up with it, over to first. And the Orioles go in order in the 9th. And they lose Game 1 to the Los Angeles Dodgers by a score of 4-2. The Orioles had 2 runs on 8 hits and no errors. And the Dodgers had 4 runs on 9 hits and 1 error. The winning pitcher is Don Drysdale. He goes the distance. And the losing pitcher is Dave McNally. 0-1 in the series. And the game-winning RBI goes to Maury Wills for his 4th inning sacrifice fly that gave the Dodgers a 3-2 lead. So that's it for Game 1 of the 1966 World Series from Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers win 4-2. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we will see you later.